underneath my knees. If you have feet that do not do ballet, if you do not have pointy ballerina feet and it's uncomfortable to be down on your shins because your ankles, the tops of your feet are uncomfortable, then go ahead, put padding all the way from knee to ankle and let your toes, your feet hang off that ledge, and there'll be less pressure on the fronts of your ankles, on the fronts of your feet. So padding from knee to ankle with your feet hanging off will help alleviate some of that ballerina foot issue. Big toes together, knees apart, hips back over your heels, and you can stack 1 potato, 2 potato, put that third eye, that potato on top, or use a block underneath your third eye to help support your head. The idea is to put more weight into your hips, shift it off your head by maybe supporting your head on the edge of the block. Curling up into a nice ball, so get yourself comfortable here. When you got into this pose, if you notice your knees did not like it, you can also modify this pose by tucking something into your knee pits. Put a folded blanket or a beach towel behind your knee pits, and that will keep your knees from over bending too deeply, and that might help alleviate some of the knee pain. So lots of toys if you got them, because we're going to settle into this child's pose and be here for a while. Do whatever you want with your arms. Some people like arms out in front. Some people like arms out to the side. Some people like to take their hands back by their heels. Whatever, I don't care. Get comfortable. I want your focus to be turned inward on your breath and breathe into your spine. So do whatever you want with your arms. And find your breath. And let your breath come slowly in and out through your nose. It takes 7 to 10 seconds for muscles to get used to a new position and to begin to relax. And that's the equivalent of 3 to 4 breaths. So we've been here for 3 or 4 breaths. Begin to notice the muscles sagging from the bones settling into whatever support you've given them. Your body begins to get used to this position. Focusing your mind on your breath, letting your breath come slowly in and out through your nose. As those muscles begin to sag, as they begin to release, as they get used to the position, you might find that you have a little bit more space to breathe into. And you can slow your breath down. Elongate the inhale, elongate the exhale. So your challenge will be to maintain this long, slow, conscious breath as we begin to move. So you can drag your hands back beneath your shoulders and remove whatever you have underneath your head. Let your head hang. Put your hands underneath your shoulders. Shrug your shoulders onto your back with your head still hanging. Walk your hands up your lap. Find yourself seated. And then shift your weight off to one side. Go ahead. Remove the toys from beneath and under between your legs and take your legs out in front. Now, if you do have blocks nearby, I recommend making a little pedestal to sit on. Every chance you get, put yourself on a pedestal. So I like to put my blocks in what I call butt cheek configuration. So I have one block for each butt cheek. And this is where matching blocks do come in handy. So 2 matching blocks will go underneath my butt. And I put myself up on a high pedestal. I cover those 2 blocks up with a couch cushion, give myself a little padding and give myself a little bit more height. So sitting on a couple of blocks covered by a couch cushion, legs go out in front. I'm going to sit cross-legged, putting one shin in front of the other. I've put myself up on enough height so that my hip bones are higher than my knee bones, and therefore my thigh bones can slant down and away. I'm not compressing or pinching up in my hip joints. So sitting on enough stuff will allow you to keep the front hip joints from being too overly compressed. Hip bones higher than knee bones, thigh bones slanting down and away. And you see what I'm doing here? I'm kind of reaching back, lifting and separating. I'm wiggling. I'm butt walking to the very front edge of those sit bones. So I'm placing my sit bones on the front edge of the block, and I'm able to tilt my pelvis. So getting my knees down, keeping my hip joints open, I'm able to tip my pelvis in such a way that my belly can spill forward. Think of that pelvic bowl. I'm spilling the pelvic bowl forward into my lap. Flesh piled up behind, so I can sit up nice and tall. Palms turned forward. Great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Back and down. Keep the palms forward, repeat. Great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Inhale up. Exhale back and down. One more time. Great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Back and down. Oh. Now keeping those shoulder blades on your back as much as you can. A nice long front, torso. If you have even more blocks available to you, or a chair, small child, a dog, whatever, put something underneath your hands. As you lift your chest up, try to tilt forward. Keep your front body long. As you hinge from the hips, try to bring your chest out over your legs. By no means am I asking you to slouch. So you might not go as low as your ego wants you to go, but you're going as low as you can keep your back long, your front long. I've got my hands on block here. I'm wiggling this block out in front of me as far as it will go. And when it won't go any further, I'm going to tip the leading edge of the block away. So I'm tipping the leading edge of the block away to get a little bit more length in my side body. This is really nice if you have a chair, a sofa available. You can just put your hands on the sofa seat. Breathe into your side body. So we started in child's pose. You felt a stretch along your spine, breath along your spine. And now in our cross-legged forward fold, try finding breath in your side body, from hip joints all the way up into side ribs, all the way up into armpits. Now to come out of this, you're going to put one hand down, put both hands down, push into your hands and walk your hands back towards your lap. And then you get to recross. Put the other shin in front. So shuffle the legs, shuffle everything else for that matter. Recenter yourself on the front edge of your sit bones. Pelvis is tilting so that your belly is spilling forward, your back is long, your front is long, your hips are not compressed or pinched at the hip joint, thighs angling down and away, yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. Let's do the other side. Block out in front of you, chair, small child, dog, whatever you got. Use it if you got it. Tip the leading edge of that block away to really lengthen through your side body a little bit more. And breathe. You might have an ottoman, you might have a coffee table, sofa. There's lots of different things you can use. And again, my goal is to leave you there for 3 or 4 breaths. so that your breath can get long, so that your muscles start to hang from the bones, your bones get used to the situation, and you find a little bit more breath in your side body. And then let your head drop. One hand, both hands come down to the ground as you walk your hands back to your lap. Sit up tall once again. All right, take your legs out in front, shake them out. And now I'm going to come off my blocks and stuff, and I'm going to sit like a lovely mermaid. Go ahead, put your right foot near your left knee, point that left big toe back behind you, flip the toes backwards so the toenails are getting scuffed. Scuff up your pedicure. And I'm mirror imaging you. So again, it's the right foot up against the left knee, left toes back behind. When I sit this way, I notice that one butt cheek is floating. So to help level my hips out, because one is floating, I'm going to lift the other one up to that same height. So for me, this right hip is heavy, and I'm going to take the block or pillow underneath the right hip to lift the right hip up so it is level with the other. So I'm trying to level my hips by propping and supporting the one that's lower. So maybe for you, you might need a block or two cushions. Just kind of customize that height. Now, a trick to getting this hip to drop, the floating hip to drop, is to work it. Stay where you are, looking at the screen. I'm going to turn around and show you the lovely rear view of this whole situation. So when I came into this, again, right foot up against left knee, left big toe pointed behind, my left cheek is floating. So try getting my hips a little bit more level, wedge a little something underneath that right cheek, getting there, not quite. To help level these hips a little bit more to get this left cheek to drop, I'm going to work it. So this is my left cheek. I'm going to grip the left butt cheek, make a butt fist with just this cheek, and jut the hip forward. So the butt lifts up nice and hard. I poke my left hip forward, and then I drop it like it's hot, because it is. And then I lift it up again, and then I drop it. And I'm just going to keep squeezing and dropping, squeezing and drop it. You keep working yours too. And this helps to rotate the pelvis around the thigh bone, helps loosen up that hip joint, helps fatigue this butt muscle so it's more likely to surrender and hang from the bone. So work it and drop it. Squeeze it and drop it. A couple more here. The harder you squeeze it, the more you jut that hip out, the quicker that hip will drop down towards the floor. How about one more? Good hard squeeze. Do it for the children. Squeeze really tight, 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 tight. Up, butt fist just on this one cheek. Tight, 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 tight. And then drop it. And spread everything out a little bit more. And maybe that sit bone is indeed a little closer to the ground than it was just a moment before. So I got my back to you. So I'm going the same direction as you. Once again, it's the right foot near the left knee, left big toe pointed behind, left cheek descending down towards the ground. Right cheek might be slightly supported. This is your right shoulder. This is your right shoulder on yoga. Go ahead, give me a shoulder shrug and a thumbs up. Pin that right shoulder blade in close to your spine, and then take that right hand behind you. Your arm's not quite long enough to reach the floor. You can put that hand on a block. Left arm comes up. You're gonna keep that left cheek dropped. You had your chance to squeeze it. No more squeezing. Let it stay relaxed as you take your left arm up. Inhale, and then exhale. Bring that left arm diagonal across. You're gonna turn to look over your right shoulder. See what's going on behind you. And as you rotate your shoulder, your chest to the right, right shoulder blade kisses your spine. Right shoulder blade comes in close to your spine. If you keep both elbows bent, you're actually able to rotate your torso a little bit further. So if you can put a bend in your elbows, you can rotate your chest a little bit further. Left butt cheek is hanging. It's relaxed as you turn your torso. And then unwind. Oh. And let's switch sides. So again, I'm doing it with you. We're all going the same direction. I got my back turned towards you. So this is your left leg, and this is your right foot. Left foot near the right knee, right big toe pointed behind. For me, my right cheek is floating a little bit, so I'm going to try leveling my hips by propping up the left cheek. I put a little something underneath that left butt cheek, trying to get my hips more level. Still, this right one isn't as settled as it could be. So now I'm going to work the right cheek. Shoulders back and down. Squeeze that right cheek and jut it forward. Push that hip forward. Hip bone sharp and pointy like a supermodel. Butt cheek hard. And then drop it. And keep working it. Butt fist and release. Butt fist and release. What do you do if your knees hurt? You complain. And if that doesn't work, then you sit on more stuff. And if that still doesn't work, you do it with one or two legs straight. You can do this with one or two legs straight. We're just going to be doing a seated twist. It's just fancy legs. Butt squeeze and drop. Butt squeeze and drop. And one more time, squeeze it really, really, really hard. As hard as you can. And then drop it. Spread it out. And see if your hips are a little bit more level. Left shoulder, shoulder shrug up. Hitchhike, back and down. And if your long, lovely arms aren't quite long and lovely enough to put your hand down on the floor, then you can put your hand on a block. Have enough stuff underneath your hand so that you can keep it bend in the elbow. That bent elbow will actually allow you to rotate your chest a little bit further. This right cheek is relaxed. Left shoulder hugs in close to your spine. Right arm comes up and diagonal across. I'm going to turn to look over your left shoulder. Beautiful. Find your tummy. As you exhale, pull in your front ribs, bend your elbows, and see if you can rotate your chest a little bit further. Can you do that and keep your right butt cheek relaxed? You had your chance to squeeze it. No more butt squeezing. Let it go. Keep on breathing. And then unwind. Oh. You're going to roll over, lie down on your tummy. Padding goes underneath your front hip bones. So I recommend padding underneath your hip bones. Even if the rest of you has enough padding, those hip bones probably don't. Put padding underneath your hip bones. And then you're going to curl your toes under and shimmy your legs narrow, close to one another. Try to zip tie your legs together and then untuck your toes. Elbows are beneath your shoulders, shoulders shrug away from your ears. Pick a shoulder. Maybe it's the one that you look over and you can still see the screen at the same time, so whatever shoulder that is for you. You're going to reach back with whatever hand that is and find whatever butt cheek that is. And you're going to tighten up that butt cheek hard, just the one. Squeeze that butt cheek, not with your hand, but with your butt muscle. Squeeze that butt muscle tight. Poke at it, play with it, make sure you're engaging that butt cheek. When you activate the glute, the butt muscle, the psoas muscle on the front side of your body will passively release. Your butt cheek and your psoas muscle are paired antagonistically. So when one tightens, the other releases. Or in fact, when one is given the signal to tighten, the other one is given no signal, and therefore it might passively release. So one way to help release that psoas muscle is to grip that butt cheek. Now, to make sure that butt cheek is still working, try floating that leg off the ground. It's not going to go very far. It's going to lift maybe an inch or two. Butt cheek, butt cheek, butt cheek. And then release. And now you get to do the other side. Find it, poke at it, squeeze it, activate it. Butt cheek, butt cheek, butt cheek. Keep breathing. Again, I'm talking to kill time so that you're there for a breath or two or three or four. So the bones and the muscles and everything get used to the situation. And you're activating just that one cheek if you can, and then lift that leg up if you can. Tight. and then release. All right, since I got you there, go ahead, jiggle. Jiggle your hips side to side. Good. If you got blocks, use them if you got them. If you got blocks, you're gonna have one block. And you're gonna slide that block underneath one thigh. So pick the one that works best for you so you can look over that shoulder, still see what's going on the screen. And notice the way I've positioned the block. I put it long, goes with the length of my thigh bone. And it's above the knee, underneath the thigh bone. This happens to be my left leg. I don't care if it's your right or your left. You're gonna tuck it underneath your leg. So it's not underneath the knee, it's underneath the thigh bone. So going back to that first cheek, squeeze that first cheek, activate it. Try pressing the front of the hip crease down against the pillow. Bend that knee, squeeze the butt cheek, bend the knee, and then maybe reach back, grab a hold of the foot, the ankle. Drag that heel in against your butt. This can be quite crunchy in the lower back, so it helps if you exhale, pull your belly away from the floor. If you know how to do a pelvic thrust, you're trying to do that. Pelvic thrust, tip your hips, lengthen your lower back, activate your belly. Continue to drag that heel in towards your butt. Keep squeezing the butt cheek. I got plans for the front of your hips, in case you haven't noticed. And then release. I can do this little shuffle thing with my legs. Push the block over, put it underneath the other leg. So you can try that. So you're gonna put the block underneath the other leg. And then take a moment to jiggle. Legs are still narrow. You could shimmy your legs close to one another. Shoulders down away from your ears. Grip that butt cheek, corresponding to the leg that you have elevated. Grip that butt cheek, bend that knee, reach back, take a hold of that ankle, drag that heel in towards your butt. Squeeze your butt. Pelvic thrust, activate your belly to help protect your lower back, drag that heel in closer. Now, some of you are like, why isn't my heel touching my butt? It usually does. Well, it's because you're squeezing your butt. You're actually activating the back of the leg. It's making the muscle bulk up. And so the knee isn't bending as deeply as it usually would. That's why your heel's not touching your hip. We'll do that version next, where your heel is more likely to touch your hip. I'm gonna do this thing twice. This first go around though, you're squeezing that butt cheek. Pelvic thrusting, activating your abs, dragging that heel in as close as it will come this morning. And then you get to release. Now you remove the block. It's just your hip bones on a pillow, and you jiggle your butt from side to side. All right, elbows beneath your shoulders. You're gonna drop your head, look towards your chest. Exhale, lift your chest up first. Exhale, lift your belly up. And then elbow walk back to your child's pose. Slowly, back to that child's pose. All right, from child's pose. You're gonna bring your knees onto that cushion. I recommend cushion for everybody's knees on this one. Couple of blocks nearby. Take a step forward with your right foot. Left knee is down on some padding. Notice I've got my toes curled under on this back foot. I'm gonna keep my toes curled under, kind of pick that knee up. Make sure all 10 toes are, all 5 toes are curled under, and then set the knee back down. You really want to be pressing through the heel of the foot. Toes curled under as deep as they'll go. Hands on blocks. Hands on blocks are to help keep the shoulders level. I've inched the front foot forward so the toes stick out past my knee. Across the front edge of the mat, it's hand, heel, hand. Across the front edge of the mat, toes sticking out past everything else. I got a pretty long stride between my legs. My hips are tipping forward or dropping down towards the ground. It's like I'm almost doing the splits. From here, exhale, pull your tummy in, press into your hands, back your hips up, rock back on the front heel. You can bring the blocks with you underneath your shoulders. And now you're down in what I call proposal pose. All your weight is down on one knee to pick up the front foot. Okay. Toes are still curled under. Proposal pose. Proposal pose is a great place to exhale, pelvic thrust, zip up your tight pants. Keep your belly pulled in, your tail tucked under as you resume the lunge. As you resume the lunge with that pelvic thrust activated, you can bring your hands up onto your lap and lift your torso up. Still have my toes curled under. I'm getting a bit of a toe stretch. Getting a strong quadricep stretch here in the front of the thigh. Now, some of you might want a little bit more intensity. This is where the pillow comes in handy. Some of you might want a little bit more intensity. I kind of shift back a little bit so that I can reach back, grab a hold of that foot, whoop, and shift forward into a strong quadricep stretch. Now, this doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody's knees like this. Not everybody has the balance. I have to use a block here to help keep myself upright. This doesn't work for everybody. An alternative that does work for most bodies is just to lie down, side lying, drag that heel in towards your butt, swing it away from your chest. You can do the lying down version, the strong quadricep stretch. Kind of the side lying down version. You did the belly lying down version. Now you can do the side lying down version or that upright lunge version. Choose your adventure. Now your challenge is to keep your butt cheek relaxed. You had your chance to squeeze that cheek. You had a chance to squeeze that cheek. Let it go. And then release. Ooh. Let's switch sides. So padding underneath your knees, highly recommended. Lunge. Even if you know you're going to end up lying down for the thigh stretch, go through these preparatory lunge poses with us, because the preparatory lunge poses help to stretch the psoas, the front of the hip, a little bit more than you could get just lying down on your side. If you know you're going to end up doing the quad stretch lying down, come on up and do this lunge prep with us. So blocks underneath your hands, hands beneath your shoulders, front foot inching forward so your toes stick out past your knee, hips driving forward down towards the ground like you're going to do a, what do you call it? Splits. I've got my back toes curled under. I'm going to lift my back knee up a little bit, really press into that back foot, the ball of the foot, set the knee back down. Just a little bit more intense toe stretch that way. And a little bit more intense hip stretch that way as well. I'm going to rock back on the front heel, bring the blocks with me underneath my shoulders as I come into proposal pose. Get all my weights down on one knee. I could pick up the front foot theoretically. In this proposal pose, I'm able to pelvic thrust, tuck my tail under without squeezing my cheeks, because you already got that out of your system. Keep your butt cheeks relaxed, activate your abs, and then resume the lunge with an upright torso. And now if you want to fall over, grab a hold of that back foot. You can fall over, grab a hold of that back foot, or just reach back, grab a hold of that back heel. Bring it in towards you. Breathe. Again, there's no shame in being able to walk after class. And if you don't have enough padding underneath your knees, bail out. You don't want mystery bruises on your knees. And then release. All right. Child's pose or downward facing dog. Child's pose or downward facing dog. And take your happy dog for a walk, pedaling your feet from side to side. If you're working that child's pose, you can play around with shifting your hips side to side. And from wherever you are, you're going to make your way to the front edge of your mat. Walking, crawling, come to the front edge of your mat. Find yourself in a forward fold. Let your feet be as wide apart as the mat. Hang your head. Put your hands on your lap. Keep your head hanging. Bend your knees. Make a lap. Exhale, lift your belly up and crawl your hands up your lap. Come up to standing. Standing at the front edge of your mat. And again, I'm moving all over the place. I'm always trying to give you an angle that informs you as to what exactly I'm doing with my body. And I'm going to encourage you to put down more than one mat if you have it available, and always kind of position yourself so you can see the screen. From the front edge of your mat, inhale, take your arms all the way up and overhead. As you exhale, bend your knees, swan dive down into a forward fold. Inhale, come halfway up. And exhale, release. Take a giant step back with your right foot. Wiggle the front foot a little wider out to the side, so you're thinking opposite diagonal corners with your feet. There's length and width between your feet. The front knee is bent, arms behind you like a downhill skier. The back heel probably will be lifted. With an inhale, sweep your arms up, catch your ears. Warrior one. I'm up on the ball of the back foot. The heel's lifted. So I can take that right hip and swing that right hip forward. Dump the pocket change out of that right hip pocket, drop it down towards the ground. I'm pivoting on the ball of the back foot. I'm pressing hard through the back heel so the back leg stays straight. Big inhale all the way up. And as you exhale, swan dive down. Okay. Bowing your head, pull the front leg straight. It might not fully straight, but pull it straighter. And then rebend the front knee, pick up that back heel once again. Arms behind you, downhill skier. Inhale, sweep up, warrior one. Same side, second time. Front knee is bent. The front knee swings wide out to the side. I pivot on the ball of the back foot and I swing that right hip forward. I also pull the left thigh bone back into the pelvis. Arms up overhead. Exhale, belly strong as you hinge forward once again. Now, if your hands don't quite reach the floor, you can put blocks underneath your hands. Work on pulling the front leg straighter. And shift forward. Back heel can lift. Front knee is bent. Arms behind you, downhill skier. Inhale, sweep up. Third time on this side. Good. Once again, bring your hands down to your hips. You're going to dump the pocket change out of that right hip pocket. Pull that left thigh bone back into your pelvis. And you should feel your inner thighs coming in towards one another. Kissing. Back leg straight and strong. It's like your legs are scissors. You're squeezing the scissors closed. Keep scissoring your legs, drawing the front leg back, the back hip forward. As you resume that forward fold, once again, third time around, try pulling the front leg straight. Hands can be on blocks. Back heel may not touch the ground. Back heel stretching straight back. In fact, pick up that back heel. Stretch the inner back heel straight back. Pick up the back heel again. Stretch the inner straight heel straight back. And then soften, step forward. Let's do that same thing on the other side. Standing at the front edge of your mat, hang your head, bend your knees, hands on your lap. Pull your belly up as you walk your hands up your lap, coming all the way up to standing. That's an intense hip stretch there. So move slowly, come up to standing. Then we'll do the other side. Big inhale, arms all the way up. Exhale, bend your knees, swan dive down, forward fold. Okay, a couple of blocks nearby. Take a giant step back with your left foot. Go long with some length and width between your feet. Back heel can be lifted. Arms behind you, downhill skier. Inhale, sweep up, catch your ears. So crescent lunge, warrior one variation. Good. Think about rolling that left hip forward. Inhale. And exhale, pull your tummy in like you're getting tickled on that transition. Hands come to blocks. Pull the front leg straighter. It might not go fully straight. Pull it straighter. Hands on blocks directly beneath the shoulders. And then rebend the front knee. Back heel can be lifted. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Second time around. Warrior one. Pulling that right hip back, left hip forward. Squaring your hips. Scissoring your legs closed. Arms overhead. Pressing that back heel straight back. It might not touch down. Then hinging over. Hands can be on blocks as you pull the front leg straighter. And then rebend that front knee. Third time's the charm. It can be up on the ball of the back foot. The back heel can definitely be lifted. The front knee is bent. Inhale, arms come all the way up. Good. You can bring your hands to your hips and work on scissoring your legs closed. Squaring your hips, pulling that front thigh bone back, rolling the left hip forward, squeezing your inner thighs together. Back leg straight and strong. Raise your hands if you like yoga. Inhale. And exhale, hinge over. From here, you can pivot to whatever side works for you. Find yourself in a wide-legged forward fold. Like you're gonna hike a football through your legs. And if you got blocks available, use them. Okay. I'm gonna turn your toes in slightly. So the pinky toe blade edges of your feet echo the short ends of your mat. Your feet are parallel, slightly turned in. Knees unlocked. I've lifted my chest up here. I'm using blocks underneath my hands. Take some of the weight off my hips so that my hips are a little bit more free to move. Now bend my knees slightly and flip my bones up towards the sun. Stick out my booty. My knees are still slightly bent as I endeavor to rip the mat between my heels. I'm pressing my heels out, but they're not going anywhere. But my sit bones do. My sit bones widen a little bit more. Now do make sure you keep your knees unlocked. In fact, turn your right knee to the right and your left knee to the left to keep your knees from locking out. So dial your kneecap, right kneecap to the right, left kneecap to the left. Keep your knees from locking out. Heels spread out, knees turn out, sit bones go out, and then you start to bow forward. You might be able to bring your hands down to the ground. Some of you might have long enough forearms. You can start to bring your elbows down to the blocks or elbows down to the floor. Find yourself in a forward fold. Toes relaxed, heels out, knees out, sit bones out, head hanging. Deep breaths. Head hanging. Arms straightening, still with your head hanging. You're gonna bring your knees in towards one another. Step your feet narrow. Come on down to hands and knees. With your toes curled under. Hands and knees with your toes curled under. Make sure those pinky toes are curled under. Let your heels flare out to the sides. Pinky toes curled under, heels flare out to the sides. Sitting down on your heels is the most intense version. Kneeling, less intense. Sunday morning, praying for this to be over, acceptable as well. Okay? So choose your intensity level. Going for a bit of a toe stretch here. Breathing. And then you're going to bail out, untuck your toes, sit back, and then shift your weight off to one side. And then pick the other knee up. So I shifted my hips over to the left and I picked my right knee up. It doesn't matter which one you're doing. Picking the knee up, you'll get a stretch on the top side of the foot. And switch, shift, peel up, stretch. And come back to neutral. Okay, find your blocks. I'm gonna lean forward, bow forward. I'm gonna bring my knees together. Now again, if you don't have ballerina feet, you might consider putting a couch cushion all the way underneath your shins, from your knees to your ankles. Get a big old couch cushion for that. If you don't have ballerina feet, okay, do something like that. So that you can sit back towards your heels and your ankles aren't forced into an uncomfortable position. I'm going to do it without this, just so you can see my feet a little bit better. So don't be shy about making yourself comfortable. I'm going to put my thighs together, let my feet separate a little bit. And again, if there's too much of a gap here, fill it so that it's comfortable. And then I sit on blocks between my heels. I could sit on 2 blocks between my heels. A nice layered cake stack of blocks between my heels. Like that. Just notice what that does for you. If your knees tolerate it. If when you sat back, your knees winged apart, you need more height. Ideally, you have enough height underneath your sit bones so that when you sit back, your legs stay parallel. If your legs widen apart from one another, you probably need more height. And if your knees widen apart from another, you got to shift forward, bring your thighs back together, put in more height, and then sit back. It's no good trying to put your knees together once you're already sitting back. And again, have enough stuff underneath your shins so that your ankles are comfortable. You're going to reach back, lift and separate, position those blocks, widen your butt out so your sit bones are right on the front edge of those blocks. Some of you are getting a quadricep stretch here. Some of you have knees that do not like this. If your knees do not like it, consider putting up more height or just bail out. Don't mess up your knees. Palms turn forward, great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Take your hands out in front, interlace your fingers, press your palms out. Shoulders are down your back. Find your front ribs in your belly, activate your belly, pull your abs in. Really sit down heavy on those sit bones as you bring your arms up and overhead. Pressing your thumbs up, pulling back on your pinky fingers. Squeezing your elbows narrow, pressing up through the heels of your hands. So you can definitely get this wrist and shoulder stretch without having to do the lower body portion of this pose. This is the traditional version of Virasana, hero pose with arms overhead. The idea with arms overhead, you may have heard this if you've ever gone to like a Zumba or an aerobics class. If you want to get your heart rate up, you move your arms more. You take your arms overhead. That will help elevate heart rate. What's going on in the lower body is all that blood in your legs now being squeezed shunted back up into your torso, which tends to perfuse your torso and heart with blood, which tends to lower your heart rate. So we're trying to balance the lower half, which is trying to put you to sleep, by activating the top half to keep you awake. And I just talked to kill time as you sat here and you breathed. And then go ahead, bend your elbows, bring your hands behind your head. Big chesty breaths. It's a little bit more of a stretch if your palms are turned up, a little less of a stretch if your palms are turned towards the back of your head. Big chesty breaths. Front ribs and belly pulled in. And then extend your arms up once again. And bring your hands out in front. Flip your hands over. Notice the weave of your fingers, which index fingers on top. That's your natural, habitual way of lacing your fingers together. You're going to re-weave your fingers to put the other index finger on top. Re-interlace your fingers. It should feel funky. Once you got funky fingers, arms out, shoulders down, heart and belly pulled in, arms overhead. Round two. Head centered between your shoulders, between your arms, shoulders down away from your ears, long, elegant neck. Breathing. Bending your elbows, bringing your hands behind your head. Keep on breathing. And then arms up and overhead. And release down. And roll out your wrists. So from here, we're going to move into a downward facing dog. Now, if downward facing dog is not your thing, I'll show you the quadricep stretch. So from here, you're going to move into downward facing dog if that's acceptable for you. If you know it is, then you know the pose. You don't need me to demo. So go on up, downward facing dog, and work your down dog. Now, if you're just not having down dog this morning, you can curl the toes of one foot under, press back through that heel, and release the leg, pressing through the heel, getting a calf stretch. If you're working that down dog, take your happy dog for a walk. Pedal your feet. Press through one heel, then the other. Try to get the blood to flow back into your legs. If you're down here on all fours with me, go ahead, switch legs. Alternate a couple times, switching sides. Really getting the blood to flow back into your legs. Because we're going to repeat Virasana hero pose. Make yourself even. Make sure you've done both legs equal amount. And then set up for round two. Padding from knee to ankle if you need it. Don't be shy about using it. Blocks nearby. I'm going to bow forward. Sunday morning prayers here, bowing forward, keeping my thighs and knees together, putting something between my heels. I'm going to go for just one block this second time around, but you do you. You can be an adult about this. Make sure you don't screw up your knees. And then you're going to sit back and try to position that block and your sit bones in such a way that the front edge of the block and your sit bones come together. Now coming down to this lower level, sometimes it feels like your calves are a little too bulky, not letting your knees bend enough. So one way to help release your calves a little bit more is to jam your thumbs into them. So I'm going to bow forward. I'm going to give you the lovely rear view on this one. And I'm going to take my thumbs, my knuckles and my thumbs into the meat of my calves. So I start at the knee pit and I find the calf muscle, and I can take that calf muscle and move it off to the side. I widen the calf muscle out to the side. I'm trying to do this without flopping my shin bones out to the side. So notice my heel. If I do this correctly, my heel doesn't go anywhere. Just the calf muscle goes wide. Doing this incorrectly, the heel wings out. This is wrong. This is right. Legs are narrow, close to one another. Try to do both calves at the same time without my heels splaying out. And then sit down between the heels on the block or whatever. Okay. I like to sit on the block. And that will help you bend at the knees a little deeper, if your knees are going to have it today. All right. Again, sitting at the front edge of the sit bones spread out, or the flesh around the sit bones spread out. Sitting down heavy. Second verse, same as the first. We've been here before. Since you have a lovely view of my feet, if you got some knuckles, you can push into the soles of your feet, kind of massage the feet. And this is where having padding underneath those shins comes in handy. You're not killing your ankles. You're just massaging your feet here, kind of shifting side to side. And if you're pressing your knuckles into the soles of your feet, you might find that you kind of start leaning back. It's my sneaky way of having you lean back a little bit. Now, some of you might just sit here and enjoy this foot massage. Others of you might consider hitchhiking one shoulder, hitchhiking the other shoulder, working your pinky fingers in narrow, closer to one another as you lift your heart up. But keep pressing your feet down. So if you were a Hindu goddess and you had an extra set of hands, imagine an extra set of hands still pushing into your feet. Lifting your chest up. Everybody's different. Some of you like to lie down. Not me, but some of you do. Some of you might be coming down to elbows. Some of you might be pancaking to the ground. Choose your own adventure on this one. In this version, your butt is relaxed. To come out of this, if your head is hanging, you roll your head around and back to center. And then you slowly press into your hands to come up. And then it's child's pose, hands and knees, or down dog, whatever you prefer, to release out of that. So you might be on hands and knees, stretching one leg and the other. You might be in down dog, taking it for a walk. And then you're going to come down onto your tummy. Again. Some padding underneath your hips. Again. Curl your toes under, shimmy your legs narrow. Again. Untuck your toes. Again. Elbows beneath your shoulders, shoulders shrug away from your ears. Take your elbows narrow, your hands wide. Elbows narrow, hands wide. I'm pushing out in the direction of my pinky fingers. Shoulders down away from your ears. Tuck your chin into your chest. Tuck your shoulder blades into your waistband. Let your head sway from side to side. Feel a nice stretch on the back of your neck. You're going to rub your chin hairs against your chest hairs. Can you relax your butt? And then come to neutral. Notice how long the back of your neck is, how the notch at the base of your skull is yawning open. Now press into your elbows, pull your heart away from the ground, tuck your chin into your throat, press the base of your skull towards the sky. Try to maintain this upper body posture. Chin tucked in, base of your skull pressing towards the sky. I'm going to swing your left hand in towards your right elbow. Reach back with your right hand. Maybe shrug that right shoulder up onto your back as you go there. So you can see me with a shoulder shrug, right shoulder up onto my back as I go there. I start to look over my right shoulder. Hands are pulled in. Reach back, take a hold of that right foot. Butt cheek is relaxed for this one. You had your chance to butt squeeze. No more of that for you today. Reaching back to take hold of the foot. The more you can shrug that shoulder onto your back, press the base of your skull towards the ground, press into the bottom elbow. The more you get your torso upright, the more likely you are to get your shoulder higher than your foot. You might be able to spin your hand around and point your fingers in the same direction as your toes. Not me today on this side, but some of you might be able to go there. Spin your fingers in the same direction as your toes. This is Ardha Bakasana, half frog. Booty relaxed. Big shoulder stretch. Legs are together. And then release. Once again, elbows beneath the shoulders, fingers flare out to the side. Press the base of your skull up towards the ceiling. Back of your neck nice and long. Belly pulls in against your spine. And your right hand pivots in towards your left elbow. You're going to look back over your left shoulder. Press into that left hand, shrug that left shoulder onto your back. Legs are together, narrow, butt cheeks are relaxed. Reach back, take a hold of that left foot. Drag that left heel in towards your buttock. If you can get your shoulder higher than your foot, you might be able to spin the hand around so fingers and toes point in the same direction. Again, press the base of your skull towards the sky. Press into the bottom elbow. Belly pulled in. Legs together. Ardha Bakasana, half frog. And then release. Make a pillow out of the back of your hands. Rest your cheek on it and then jiggle your other cheeks from side to side. Jiggle your butt. Now, if you have a belt nearby, even if you know you can reach back and take a hold of both feet at the same time, sometimes holding on with a belt gives you a stronger grip and allows you to kick harder. So I like to use a belt. Problem is, the challenge is to get that belt around both ankles at the same time. So putting that belt in place is probably not the most elegant display of yoga abilities, but having that belt in place is quite nice. So putting a belt around your ankles, however you can manage to do that. And your hip bones on some padding. This is the part they don't show you in Yoga Journal magazine. This part. flopping around. Legs are narrow, close to one another. Feet flexed. Shoulders shrug back away from your ears. Pelvic thrust, abs active. Squeezing your shoulder blades together, pressing the base of your skull towards the ceiling. So you're not looking up, you're looking down. Chin tucked in. You're gonna hold on as close as you can to the feet. Get a good strong grip on that belt. And then exhale belly strong as you kick, 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 kick. Kick hard. Can you kick hard? Spread your butt. I know that sounds weird. Kick hard and then try to widen your heels. You got a belt around them, they're not going anywhere, but try widening your heels. That will actually allow you to widen your back. And then release. Make a pillow out of your hands, or just keep holding onto the belt so you don't lose it. You get to do this a second time. All right, round two, legs narrow, feet flexed flat, shoulders shrugged away from your ears, chin tucked into your chest, abs are active as you kick, 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 kick. Think about spreading your heels, even though your legs don't go anywhere. Legs stay narrow. And then release. All the way out of that one. Make a pillow out of your hands, jiggle like Jello. Curl your toes under, shimmy your legs together. Zip tie your knees and thighs together. And then untuck your toes. Arms go out to the sides like a capital T with your body, palms down. So turn to look towards the screen. So as I'm looking towards the screen, this is my right hand. I'm going to bend this hand, this elbow. This happens to be my right elbow. Okay. And I'm going to bend my right knee. So the elbow and knee closest to the screen, those are the ones I'm going to bend. And I'm going to take this bent leg and start to sway it from side to side. And I'm going to get ready to push into my right hand and kick that right hip over, roll over onto my left shoulder, onto my left hip. There's really no good place for my head. My head's kind of hanging in midair, so I actually kind of have a pillow available. Put my head on. I am lying on my left shoulder. My left arm is still in that T position, palm down. Now that you know what this looks like, you've done it on one side. Hopefully you can do the other side without having to crane your neck to see. Because from here, you're going to roll back onto your tummy, reset, and get ready to do the other side. Arms out like a T, palms down, hands level with your shoulders, legs are together. And then you're going to bend, for me, it's my left hand, left elbow, left hand down, left knee bent. I'm going to start to sway that left foot side to side, and then get ready to push into my left hand, kick that left leg over, roll over onto the right hip and right shoulder. So this is what the rear view looks like. And then roll over back onto your tummy. Now, some of you used to come to my advanced classes. Some of you have been with me for years. Some of you have seen this move before, and some of you haven't. This is completely optional. It's just something to think about. One day in the future, maybe one day, you'll be doing like a bow pose type of thing. And in your bow pose, you start to rock from side to side. And in that bow pose, you just kind of rock and roll all the way over into your bridge pose. Yay! But we're not doing that today. Instead, you're going to flip on over like a pancake, and then we'll go into bridge pose without having to roll around the floor so much. You're going to flip on over like a pancake. That was just inspiration for those of you who might be teaching a vinyasa style class with intermediate or advanced level people who are willing to roll off their mats. We're going to go into a bridge pose. Nothing underneath your head, but do keep that pillow nearby. Nothing underneath your head. You got your blocks, your belt nearby. So going for bridge pose. Knees bent, feet flat. Push into your feet, pelvic thrust. Block goes underneath your booty. Sunday morning, kinder, gentler way of getting into bridge pose. You are well prepped for this. So we did all kinds of quadricep stretches. We did some butt squeezing to help release the psoas. We did some lunging to help release the psoas. We did a lot to open up the front of the hips here. And we did some shoulder stretching so that if you wanted to, you could work your shoulders narrow. I've hitchhiked my thumbs out to the sides and I try to rotate my arms to tuck my shoulder blades as narrow, close together as I can. Getting your shoulders underneath you, your elbows narrow, your thumbs are still hitchhiking out to the sides. You will still want to keep those front ribs tucked in like you're getting tickled. Activate those tickle muscles in those front ribs. And for that matter, activate your pelvic thrust. Keep your legs narrow and breathe. If you wanted a little bit more lift in your chest, this is again kind of awkward to do, but you would take that belt across the palms of your hands underneath your body. So I have my belt nice and flat. It goes in the palms of my hands. My palms are turned up. And I try working my pinky fingers narrower, close together on that belt. Get a good strong grip on the belt and then try ripping the belt, try tearing the belt apart. Hitchhiking my thumbs out to the sides. That will help you get your shoulders even more narrow. Now, one caution, those of you that are hypermobile, Rebekah, others whose elbows are lifting away from the ground, put a bend in your elbows and jam your elbows down to keep your elbows from hyperextending. Holding onto the belt or eventually maybe bringing your hands together can damage your elbows if you do not keep your elbows from locking out. Breathe. Holding onto that belt, trying to rip the belt apart, you might find that you're inspired to exhale, pelvic thrust, lift your hips up a little bit more, maybe lifting your hips up off the brick, maybe coming into a deeper, fuller expression of your bridge pose by pressing your feet flat down hard into the ground, pelvic thrusting your hips towards the heavens. You have nothing underneath your head. Your legs are narrow, close together. Your feet are flat down on the ground, and you can activate like you're trying to spread your heels, like you're trying to turn your toes in to relax your butt cheeks. You don't get to squeeze your butt anymore. You already did that. Your thighs should be instantly tired. Stay there as long as you like, or slowly come back onto that brick. Remove your belt. If you're on the brick, you're going to pause and take at least 3 breaths. Long, slow breaths. Feet planted down flat. Activate like you're turning your toes in, spreading your heels out to keep your butt relaxed. Feet don't go anywhere, but you're pressing your heels wide. They don't go anywhere. Toes are turned in, but they don't go anywhere. Legs are narrow. After you've had at least 3 breaths on that brick, you're going to lift your hips up just enough to remove the brick and slowly come on down. Hips to the floor. And take at least 3 breaths here. Just knees bent, feet flat. It's going to feel like your butt is in a hole. At this point, if you want to put a pillow underneath your head, go for it. Still have your belt nearby. And then your feet wiggle out as wide apart as your mat. You're going to start to windshield wipe your knees side to side. Remember at the beginning of class when we did that mermaid thing? And then you squeezed your butt and you dropped it. You're going to kind of swish your legs side to side. And as you do so, if you want a little bit more stretch, you can squeeze one butt cheek, squeeze the other. Squeeze one butt cheek, squeeze the other. That's optional. Breathing is not, you must breathe. Again, that butt squeeze helps to release the psoas, that deep internal hip flexor. That butt squeeze also gives you a little bit more of a twist. You might want to lift one hip a little higher off the ground as you domino your legs side to side. And then you get to come to neutral. And bring one knee at a time, both knees in. Hold on to one knee with each hand. So holding on to your knees, get a good grip on your knees, and then kind of scramble your legs. You can picture the scrambler from the Del Mar Fair, the carnival ride. Scramble your legs. And you can scramble the other way. So I hear the Del Mar Fair has a drive-in fair food thing going on right now. And they also have a drive-in jazz concert scheduled. Drive-in live jazz concert coming up soon. All right, so scrambling your legs and come back to neutral. With one hand on each knee, you're going to straighten your arms, bring your legs together, keep your legs together, bring them in together, and they're not going to come in as close as they would if you let your legs separate. So only let them come in as close as they can come with your legs together. And then transfer both hands over onto your right knee and stand your left foot up on the floor. Dial that left big toe in towards midline. Let your arms be heavy, easing that right thigh down against your ribs. After 3 or 4 breaths, the belt goes around the bottom of that right foot, and you raise the roof. Right leg goes straight. I loop the belt around the back of my hands a couple times so I can hold on and relax my fingers at the same time. Hold on close enough to the foot so that the weight of your arms and your relaxed shoulders hanging from the legs gives you traction, but let out enough slack so you can take the legs straight. Notice I'm demonstrating with my legs straight up. I'm not trying to put the foot behind my head or anything fancy like that. I am concentrating on locking the leg out, trying to get the leg as super straight as possible. If you joined me for my belted and bound yoga Wednesday night class a couple weeks ago, we did a version of this where we had the belt around the top of the thigh, we looped it around the other foot, and then we kicked the other leg straight, and it pushed that thigh bone away from the chest. So imagine something looped around the top of your right thigh bone, pushing that right thigh bone down towards your left heel. That's the action you want. This is your right leg in the air. It's the right thigh bone, the head of the right thigh bone, pushing towards that left heel. Hip heavy on the ground. And then you get to bend that right knee, cross the right leg over the left. You can set the belt aside. Right leg crossed over the left. This is my left hand. This is my left hand on my right knee. And I'm bringing that right knee in closer. Left hand on the right knee, bringing that right knee in closer. The thigh comes diagonal across your belly. Your hips are still heavy on the floor. Your right hand may be free to take that right hand into that right hip crease and push that right butt cheek up against your left inner thigh. Push that right hip crease away to swing that right butt cheek up against your left inner thigh. And breathe. If your lower back is enjoying this and you want a little bit more intensity, your left hand on that right knee is incredibly heavy. Shoulders are relaxed. Your right hand in that hip crease is incredibly strong, pushing that right hip crease down towards your left heel. And with your left hand heavy on your knee, try pressing your knee away, like you're trying to escape your grasp. Press your left, sorry, what is this? Your right knee, press your right knee into your left hand. Left hand holds it from going anywhere. Right knee trying to push towards the end of your mat. Right knee trying to push away from your face towards the end of your mat. And you're holding it in place with your strong left hand. If none of that makes sense, just breathe. You'll be fine. Can you relax both butt cheeks as you do this? And then relax everything. Oh. And release. Take a moment to stretch out, suntan like Superman. Reach through your fingers, reach through your toes. And snow angel your hands down by your hips. Bend one knee at a time, put both feet flat. Have your belt nearby. Bring one knee at a time, both knees into your chest. Rock from side to side. With one hand on each knee, straighten your arms and then put your knees together. Keep your knees together as you bring your knees in towards your chest. Again, they won't come as close as they would if you let your knees separate. So bring them in together wherever they go. Hold on to the left knee, stand the right foot up on the floor, dial that right big toe in towards midline. And just be here. Breathe. Again, we're hanging out for at least 3 or 4 breaths. Getting that left hip close to this, used to this angle. This left hip left thigh close to your chest. The left hip used to this angle. And you get to flex that left foot. Belt goes around the bottom of that foot. And you raise the roof, taking that left leg straight. Again, I'm looping the belt around the back of my hands a couple of times so I can hold on and have fingers relaxed. Making that left thigh heavy. Pressing that left hip crease away from my left shoulder. Shoulders heavy, arms heavy. This is not a competition. This is not trying to show off putting a foot behind your head or anything like that. This is a release for that bridge pose, those back bends. My belted and bound yoga class is on YouTube, so you can check that out. Again, if you were there or if you've watched the video, the belt went around the top of the thigh, looped around the other foot, it would go around the left thigh and around that right foot. And then you kick the right leg straight to pull that left thigh bone towards the right heel. Top of that left thigh bone, one that plugs into your hip, towards the right heel, hard. Trying to get that left leg super, super straight. And then you get to release the belt and cross that left leg over the right, setting the belt aside. Left leg crossed over the right. Right hand comes up to that left knee. Bring that left knee in towards your chest. So that left thigh is diagonal across your belly. Both hips are down on the ground. Your left hand is free to wedge into that left hip crease and press that left butt cheek up against your right inner thigh. Right hand nice and heavy on that left knee. Shoulders relaxed. Breathing. So take 2 or 3 breaths here before you kick it up a level. Let your bones settle, let your muscles hang from the bones. And then if you want to take it to the next level, let your right hand be very heavy. Don't let your left knee go anywhere, but engage as if you're pressing your left knee to the end of your mat, pressing that left knee away from your chest, down towards the end of your mat. It's not going to go anywhere because you got a good strong grip on it. And then release. Set your feet down. You can take your feet wide, turn your toes in, let your knees lean together. If you want to belt your thighs together, that will work. Or you can build a little berm, a bolster to go beneath your knees. If you want to do that, I have 2 blocks, choo-choo train, freight train, choo-choo train, going beneath my knees. And you can cover that up with a pillow. Lots of props underneath the knees. If you got even more couch cushions and stuff available to you, you might even put something underneath your ankles so you can elevate the pose, the lower half of your pose. Or if lying flat out is comfortable for you, go ahead and do that. It is time to settle in for the big sleep. Again, it's not Shavasana if you cannot Shavasanate. So find a comfortable variation of Shavasana that you can really settle into. Finding your breath slowly in and out through your nose. So if you have a difficult time lying still, doing nothing, I'll give you something to do. This requires mental discipline. It's a Jedi mind trick to allowing you to lie still. Keep your mind occupied. Mental discipline. It's a precursor to meditation, which is all about mental discipline. So the Jedi mind trick is to observe your breath. Let your breath stay long and slow and deep, and count backwards from 60. Let the even numbers be the exhale. E for even, E for exhale. Inhales are odd. So counting silently to yourself. Inhaling and exhaling for 60. Inhaling for 59. Exhaling for 58. And just keep going. The challenge is to stay on task, not to complete the task. So if you find that you've lost count, reset, restart. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not about finishing first, being the quickest. Nobody's going to compare notes at the end. Just try to stay on task. Please begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretch your arms and legs. Stretching, moving, even yawning. Make your way slowly over onto your right side. Moving slowly, crawling. Make your way into a seated position. Sit any way you like. We'll bring hands together at the heart. And we'll finish with a word that can be used in farewell or in greeting as a sign of acknowledgement and respect. Namaste. I thank you for coming. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And I invite you to join me on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock for